Thank you for having me. I am very sad not to have any videos of my presentation, and I don't have any sort of core game going on. Hopefully you'll get some value out of this. So I am aiming to really give you an overview of what is going on in UKRI. So I'll go quickly through what our mission is, what we are here to do, and I'll tell you a little bit about what is going on in the research funding landscape. The team at EPSRC, the AI and robotics team, where I sit, is quite new, so we've only been going on for about a year. Everything has changed quite dramatically since UKRI was born a couple of years ago nearly, and also since the team was created. So hopefully I'll just be able to send you some provocative questions to start the discussion that is happening just after this session. So first of all, I wanted to show you everyone that is involved in the team. Anna Angus-Smith, who you might have met before, is head of AI and robotics at EPSRC. And I sit just under there. So I basically have two surnames, so you need to use the two of them to email me. It's very confusing. But I lead on the delivery of the Trustworthy Autonomous Systems program. I have a couple of slides on that. I know that many of you have heard about this program. And then there are a few things that are going on at the moment. The Turing AI fellowships are quite a big program going on as well, and I'm happy to answer any questions you might have. So we've only existed for about a year, and then when the team was created, Anna was the only person in the team. Now we're about 13, and we're probably going to continue increasing. And this is really to respond to the need in the landscape and to how many activities in this area are going on, and basically we don't have the resource or the capacity to being able to address all of them. So this is just a quick reminder or a presentation to any of you that isn't familiar with the Research Council's family. So UKRI was created in April 2018 and basically brought together the pre-existing Research Councils and Research England and Innovate UK. So UKRI has brought many opportunities and definitely some changes as well. I think particularly in the AI and robotics space, it's a very good example of an area that needs interaction from researchers from across the UKRI portfolio. So UKRI has really been an opportunity for taking on these challenges in a much more sort of cross-cutting, multidisciplinary way. And I think the activities that we've got going on at the moment really reflect that nature of moving into UKRI and how this sort of family bringing together, understanding everyone's needs is really sort of a growing tendency. So UKRI's mission is to ensure that we are able to facilitate world-leading research and innovation in the UK so that it takes place and also grows. And at the end of the day, so we ensure impact for citizens in the UK and worldwide. So to do that, we basically invest taxpayers' money. That's why we are funders. And we do this through competitions and various mechanisms to ensure that that research can be funded and that different partnerships are created. So really just building on from that UKRI's mission, EPSRC's vision is to ensure that this right ecosystem is created for research in physical sciences and engineering. But it's much broader than that. So I think we make sometimes unhappy communities like the mathematicians when we say this, but we do really cover all the space between physical science and engineering, but including chemists and maths. So we are broader than our name suggests. So we are really key to delivering the government's aspiration to 2.4 GDP by 2022. So we're basically partnering with businesses to ensure that this vision is realised. And we are very much dependent on other partners within UKRI as well. And we do this basically now since UKRI was created in a much more flexible way. Really we are the partnership side of the team is quite key, and at the moment we are working with different stakeholders to ensure that those are established, just as the team is new as well. And also in the context of UKRI, there are all the teams across of UKRI as well, and so ensuring that those partnerships and connections are well established and we understand those is quite important for us at the moment. So I left this slide on, because we use this one normally for just touching on how EPSRC funded research really impacts on all aspects of daily life. But I left it just to just listening to all the spotlight presentation earlier. It really became evident that you as a community do have really a play in all of these areas. So we've listened to basically a variety of talks about people working in finance, where multi-agent systems got clearly a clear role, and the automotive sector, driverless cars, defense and security. And really, it struck me how we use this slide just to exemplify how what we do is important in touches on many people's life. But what I thought it was quite relevant is how you as a community do really have a key role in delivering those. So I thought I would just highlight that, and hopefully there is also an opportunity for you to think about how you can address from what you do the priorities that EPSRC and UKRI have set through the delivery plan as well. So just some food for thought there. So I will not get into the corporate detail of these. So this is part of the delivery plan, and I just wanted to really just re-emphasize that idea that I just left there for you in terms of how our vision is to deliver economic impact and societal prosperity, and we do this through a productive, connected, healthy, and resilient nation. And I think in those four aspects, really, your community does have a very important role to play as well. So I think that should really sort of guide your conversations a little bit when you're thinking about what research you put together, what you're aiming to do, how to partner with different people, and so on. So I don't want to get more into detail of that, but just additional idea for thought. So in terms of how the landscape has changed since UKRI came to play a couple of years ago, so as I said, there have been quite a few changes going on. So how we work internally is still growing and sort of being changed quite regularly. But I think apart from those, huge opportunities have really presented in the way of our community. So that graph at the bottom basically shows you how our budget has changed since UKRI came in place. So we have seen not an increase on baseline funding. This is what we would normally deliver through responsive mode. So this is just where researchers can bring ideas forward, and then we would just fund basically research-driven ideas. But at the same time, we have seen a notably increase in additional funding streams. So a lot of this has been through the National Productivity Investment Fund, and we will deliver about 7 billion between 17 and 22. So that was just really to give you a flavour. The program I lead on, which is the Trustworthy Autonomous System, many of you have heard of this, basically sits under the Strategic Priorities Fund. So this fund really is very much in line with what UKRI's spirit is, so making sure that the communities work together, that we can fund fundamental multidisciplinary research that can really address government priorities. So that task program sits under there. That's just an example of additional almost 34 million that have been, that EPSRC is delivering on behalf of UKRI, really to ensure that a need for the UK can be addressed at the scale that it deserves. And really other examples, but there have been a mention of the CDTs earlier as well. So they are just really a few examples that really show how, despite our traditional way of delivering still exists, hasn't grown massively in the last few years, but there are definitely other opportunities for the community to engage. So we, as EPSRC AI and Robotics, so I should probably emphasize that despite we exist in EPSRC as a team, we're very well connected with other teams in UKRI and other teams at ESRC, AHRC that work in the area. But just due to the area we work in, we're just slightly bigger in EPSRC at the moment, but we basically work very connected to other colleagues in UKRI. So the team was created to respond to the growing interest in AI and robotics, which is it's got an interest politically, it's got high visibility. So just a number of activities there on the slide citing, just to basically just cover that. So we have grown a lot as a team, and we cover all the area between AI and robotics, including autonomous systems. I know that this slide will probably upset a few of you. But what I really wanted to say is that we are very well aware that robotics and AI do have a crossing. It's not very clear how this is defined, and I'm not here to try to define it because you know a lot more than I do in this aspect. But as a team, we do focus in all those three areas, and we'll be working to understand with our communities really to understand better how the crosses work and how we can work better to maximize the benefits for the three. So as a new team, we basically use this slide to explain externally what we do. So we do have a duty to manage and deliver investments. So that is the top green circle there. So ensure that the UK has got that right environment for research and innovation to take place. We also have a duty to understand what isn't there. So who we need to partner with, what other people are doing, how we can complement what others are there doing. And also build those relationships to ensure that, because UKRI has got a key role to play, but we are not just the only players, and we acknowledge that. And we have spent as a team a long time, and I'll tell you more about it in a second, in the last year or so, understanding how we can complement that, building those relationships, ensuring that we can add value to that landscape. So this is just the same slide, but basically with a little bit of a breakdown of the activities, so things that we are concerned with at the moment. So I'll tell you a little bit more about the Trustworthy Autonomous System, which is the program I lead on, and I think it's quite relevant for the research that is being done by the attendees today. We've got the Turing Fellowships as well. So between those two, so we had 4 calls open in parallel, so that is a total of £70 million. So that is, just to give you an idea, that is bigger than many traditional teams in EPSRC. So that just really exemplifies how big the area has grown at the level of funders and how much interest is in the area. So just to give you that a bit of context on how busy we are sometimes as well. And then other things, just the UKRI AI investment that was delivered last year, but it's also a key part of what we do with management now, ensuring that the cities do actually add value to the landscape and they can work together as well. And then at the bottom, we've got the UKRI AI review that I'm really hoping that most of you have heard of by now. It's in its last stages at the moment, but I'm also happy to answer any questions. I've got a slide about it in a second. And then finally, that building the mutually beneficial relationships. So there is a lot of talking to government departments, understanding what needs are, ensuring that we can demonstrate what the added value of investing in fundamental research is. Because in this world we live in now, those things are a lot more important than they were when we were assigned a baseline budget just to fund responsive mode research. So there is a lot more need for us to make the cases on your behalf with the information you give us, and then go to government departments and ask them to give us money that is important to address X question. So that is also an important idea, that as a community, we need to sort of work together with you and make the most of it. So as I said, the UKRI review is in its last stages. So this has been quite a big exercise to explore the landscape in AI in the UK and understand what UKRI's role is in that space. So how we can complement what others are doing, what do we have out there. Turns out that our portfolio, as in AI portfolio, AI relevant portfolio is huge. It's quite close to £1 billion. Then you can sort of like get this down, look at different bits, and then you can shrink it down in EPSRC portfolio about £400 million. But it is quite substantial. And then one of the key aims of the AI review is understand where else can we invest, what else is needed, and how can we do this with you and in a way that is going to benefit the UK really. So as I say, the AI review is getting to the last stages, so we're aiming to publish something that will look like, we're not going to call it a strategy, but something that looks like a recipe of things that we should be focusing on in the next few years, hopefully by the spring this year, so this hasn't changed yet. And then we've collated a huge amount of information from all the engagement that we have had over the year with different stakeholders, industries, academic partners, and all of that will be used internally for deciding what next steps are based on what is published. So that document is a very long one, and hopefully you won't actually get bored to reading that, but the one that we'll publish will be something manageable that can really set the vision for what we would like to do. And this is just really to give you the highlight, and I've just had some conversations with lunch as well around the need for perhaps moving from something that is technologically or technically important to a space where we can consider that responsible aspects, where we can develop technologies that can be trusted, that can be used, that are developed for social good. I know that civil servants always talk about this, but this is the sort of the lens that we want the AI review to have, and we've been working very much on the narrative behind it to ensure that those two things really come one next to each other. So any more questions about the AI review, I'm happy to chat to you later, or you drop me an email. And this is just basically what I've just said to you. This is some of the summaries of what we've got through reviewing all of our portfolio, but just really to emphasize that AI relevant portfolio in EPSRC is in the region of 400 million. And there are plenty of activities in the area that not only within the team, but things like the space of the digital economy team, for example, the Petros network through the SPF Wave 1, and all of the ISCF, including robotics. And so plenty going on. So that's just the ISCF robotics. The slides will be available, so more of that. Okay, so just very quickly, I wanted to touch on the program I lead on, just because the organisers asked me to mention a little bit about this. I think, well, the two calls are now closed, but I think there is still plenty of opportunity, and there will be in the next 4 years for all members of the community, regardless of where they sit, whether in academia or businesses or government, to engage with. So I thought I would go quickly through what the program looks like, and then give you some, from my point of view, some pointers of where might be opportunities. So you might know that the Trustworthy Autonomous Systems is a £34 million, £33.7 million investment, and that is being delivered by EPSRC on behalf of UKRI, and this is funded through the Strategic Priorities Fund that I mentioned earlier. So the Trustworthy Autonomous Systems was an idea that was put together by EPSRC based on an idea that the community suggested. So the idea was Mico Fisher's idea, and he submitted it through an open scheme that exists in EPSRC called the Big Ideas Scheme. And this is open to all, and basically invites suggestions for big programs that EPSRC might want to focus on, that are just bigger than a research program, really, that requires a very big investment to cause a step change in the UK. So the idea was developed into a business case, and we were lucky enough to secure 33.7 million, hence why it's a weird number. And then the program is basically being run in two parallel calls, both of which are closed at the moment. And then we expect that the two parts of the investment will be set up this year. So the hub will start in June 2020, and the research nodes will start in October. So just to emphasize that this is a UKRI program, so EPSRC is delivering it on behalf of, but it is very much a multidisciplinary program, and partners across UKRI have been very much involved in developing the business case and the calls and so on. So many of you will be familiar with this image, which is actually outdated, but just to give you that flavor of how the program is delivered. So we've got a central hub that will build community, and that will facilitate coordination and create collaborations between different parts of the community. And then we have 7 research nodes. We expect to fund 7, and each of them will be looking at a particular aspect of basically things that are going to contribute making autonomous systems trustworthy. So the legality one is now called regulation and governance, or governance and regulation, the other way around. So something in here, I think the only thing I would like to highlight is really the fact that it is a cross UKRI program, that the hub, and that the hub will really coordinate the program, but they will have a wider role ensuring that the community is well connected. So I've highlighted the yellow bit in there because I think that's where, for many of you, I know many of you would have had involvement in the calls, in bids that have been put forward, whatever it is. And for any of you that has an interest in autonomous systems, the program will be a one-stop go for knowing who is doing what, exploring collaborations, understanding what the landscape looks like. So we really expect and anticipate that this is what the program will play in the landscape. So I think there will be plenty of opportunities to engage with them in these ways, but there will also be open competitions for what we call flexible funds that the hub will manage on behalf of the program. So this will be open to all. So this can be used for, I don't know, taking forward like very adventurous research ideas in collaboration with different stakeholders. So there is definitely a space for anyone not involved at the moment to play a part there. And finally, so those are the questions I promised in the beginning. So, you know, I've heard a lot. It was an excellent. I think the format was really good. So well done, the organisers, for having those spotlight chats. It really gave me a flavour and an overview of what the community looks like in the UK. So as a funder, that is great because I don't have to go to 15 different places. So I really got a flavour of what is going on. So I thought that was a very good idea. But now, what is it that you need? So the organisers asked me to identify what we thought as the EPSRC or UKRI was needed for your community, but I will not know this unless you tell me. So is it we've heard a lot about coordination? Is it the community that is sparse, perhaps? Is it like a clear point of contact? Do people know what other people are doing? What is it that will make it better? What is it? Is it just a funding call? Not tell me this because I hear this all the time. But you know, think big. What is it that will make it better for you and will make your jobs easier and will deliver impact for the UK? And how can we work together, really? We're here to represent you. Sometimes you just see us as a funder that has a lot of cash in a box behind us, but we are much more than that. We depend on understanding what you do, and if we don't understand our portfolio, we cannot deliver on your behalf. So that's where the partnership goes. So that's it. Some more things to discuss now. Yeah, so that's basically it. I'll leave you with the names just in case you want to take a picture or whatever. But yeah, thank you. That's it.